You're just a guard.
Oh, am I?
By noon, Marcus won't have a wife, a house, or a dime. Diana Rowe said it loudly enough for the drivers at Gate 3 to hear. She stood beneath the warehouse security light in a cream coat untouched by factory dust, holding a blue county envelope between two fingers. Employees slowed to watch Marcus Rowe's marriage become public entertainment. Marcus stayed inside the guard booth. He held the midnight gate badge he had worn for 11 years, its black enamel worn silver at the edges. He did not ask what was inside the envelope. He already knew. Divorce papers, filed without warning, timed for a hearing window that closed that afternoon. Diana smiled at the gathered workers. He can keep the uniform. Everything else is mine. Marcus pressed the intercom. You're blocking an active entrance. That was all. Diana had expected pleading or anger, anything she could later call unstable. Instead, Marcus lifted the gate arm for an outbound truck and wrote its trailer number in the log. At 11:30, Diana appeared at the Franklin County Records Office with her attorney and two warehouse managers. She told them Marcus had hidden debts, no ownership interest, and no chance of stopping the Rowe warehouse from defaulting. Then she placed a pen beside the settlement. Signed now, she said, and I won't make your co-workers testify about how little you actually matter. Marcus sat across from her in the public filing room, still wearing his gray security shirt. His badge rested in his palm beneath the table. Inside, the digital clock above the clerk's window changed to 11:34. The filing cutoff was noon. Marcus studied the empty space beside the clerk's stamp. Has the courier manifest been entered? Diana laughed. Her attorney did not. Clerk Evelyn Shaw checked her monitor. Nothing under Rowe yet. There is no courier, Diana said. There is no rescue coming. You guard a warehouse, that's all you are. One manager shifted. Marcus had spent years resisting layoffs, while Diana had spent the last month promising the property would be sold by Friday. Marcus removed a folded receipt from his shirt pocket. It bore a tracking code, an estate seal, and one handwritten line, "Control packet, personal delivery only." Diana reached for it, but Marcus closed his hand. Where did you get that? The clock changed to 11:41. Marcus rose not toward the exit, but toward the records counter. He placed the receipt before Evelyn. Please note that I contest any filing presented as uncontested, and record that the supporting control documents are in transit. Diana's chair scraped the tile. You don't get to delay this with another story. Marcus faced her voice low. I'm not asking for a delay. Through the front window's headlights appeared at the curb. One black SUV, then another. Then a long sedan carrying a silver family office crest Diana had not seen in 17 years. The vehicles stopped in formation. A courier emerged from the center car with a locked leather case secured to his wrist. Diana's attorney stood without speaking. Evelyn glanced from the approaching courier to Marcus's receipt. The estate seal matched. Diana recovered quickly. Whatever that is, it has nothing to do with the divorce. Marcus clipped the midnight gate badge back onto his shirt. It has everything to do with what you filed, he said. And with the warehouse you promised to sell. The courier entered at 11:47 and stopped before Marcus. Mr. Rowe, we were instructed to deliver this only after verifying the estate access record. Diana's pen rolled off the table. The courier unlocked the case. Inside was a sealed packet thick enough to destroy every assumption in the room. But Marcus opened it before Diana understood what she had tried to seize, and before the workers at Gate 3 learned why a warehouse guard had protected their jobs with silence instead of speeches. One question remained. How had the man everyone dismissed become the only person who could stop the Rowe family office from falling into Diana's hands? To understand that we have to go back 3 weeks before the divorce filing before the convoy, and before Marcus realized his quiet life had already been marked for removal. 3 weeks earlier, Marcus Rowe began his shift at 11:52 p.m., 8 minutes before the warehouse changed hands from the evening crew to the overnight team. He always arrived early. At 45, he moved with the careful economy of a man who had learned that being dependable made people stop asking questions. He checked the emergency radio, counted the visitor badges, and ran his thumb across the worn edge of his midnight gate badge before clipping it to his chest. The badge had once belonged to his father, not officially. The warehouse had issued a new one after Raymond Rowe died, but Marcus had quietly transferred the small black plate from the old casing. Raymond had worked the same gate before becoming ill back when the Rowe name still appeared above the loading docks instead of only on old property maps. To everyone else, the badge meant $12 of plastic and a security clearance. To Marcus, it meant a promise. Keep the doors open. Keep the people inside working. Never let pride cost another family its paycheck. At midnight, a line of trailers rolled toward Gate 3. Marcus checked Seal's confirmed manifests and waved drivers through with a raised hand. He knew nearly every employee by vehicle. He knew whose truck needed a second try in winter, whose daughter had started college, and which forklift operator had begun arriving late because his wife's chemotherapy appointments ran into the evening. Marcus never mentioned that he knew. He simply adjusted brake coverage and wrote cleaner schedules in the gate log so no one had to explain their private pain to management. At 1:17 a.m., a supervisor called from the main building. "We've got another rumor about layoffs." Marcus watched a refrigerated trailer clear the turn. How many? 25, maybe more. Who started it? A pause followed. "Diana was here this afternoon." Marcus lowered the radio. His wife had not visited the warehouse in years. Diana hated the smell of diesel and cardboard dust. She called the building a monument to failure, though its payroll still supported almost 200 households across Columbus. "What did she want?" Marcus asked. "She met with the property consultants. Said something about a sale before quarter end." Marcus's grip tightened around the radio. "Did she sign anything?" "Not that I saw." "Send me the visitor entry." The supervisor hesitated. "You want me to email it?" "No, put a copy in the internal pouch." Marcus ended the call and opened the estate access log stored beneath the visitor ledger. The book looked ordinary, gray cover, numbered pages, handwritten entries. But Raymond had taught him that ordinary records survived because powerful people overlooked them. Every executive entry, every sealed delivery, every authorized family office visit connected to the property had been logged there since the warehouse opened. Marcus found Diana's name. She had entered at 2:06 p.m., using an authorization code that should have expired 17 years earlier. Beside her signature was a second notation. "Records, review ownership transition." Marcus read it twice. Then he closed the book as headlights approached. At 3:40 a.m., he ate dinner alone in the guard booth, half a turkey sandwich and coffee that had gone cold. Diana had stopped packing meals for him months ago. She had also stopped answering when he asked where she spent Thursday evenings. Marcus had not confronted her. Silence had become the safest room in their marriage. When Diana wanted a new kitchen, Marcus signed the loan paperwork. When she insisted they move his father's boxes into storage, he carried them himself. When she mocked his uniform at a neighborhood dinner, he laughed softly so the guests would not feel uncomfortable. He told himself patience was loyalty. In truth, he was afraid that fighting for dignity would cost him the last pieces of family he had left. They had no children. His parents were gone. His younger sister had disappeared from the family years earlier after a dispute no one would explain to him. Diana was the only person who still called their house home. By sunrise, Marcus returned to the small brick bungalow they had shared for 16 years. Diana's car was gone, but the kitchen lights were on. A stack of envelopes waited beside the fruit bowl. Mortgage statement, utility bill, a notice from the warehouse insurer, and one cream envelope without postage. Marcus opened it. Inside was a single-typed page from Halcyon Family Office the private administrator Raymond had once warned him never to contact unless the warehouse faced transfer or default. The message contained no greeting. Beneficiary status review active. Control documents pending release. Delivery requires verified access record. Filing window 21 days. Marcus sat down. He had spent years believing the Rowe family office had dissolved after his father's death. Diana had encouraged that belief, saying Raymond left debts, not assets. But the words on the page suggested something had remained. Something tied to him. Something tied to the warehouse. The front door opened. Diana entered carrying a leather folder and stopped when she saw the page in Marcus's hand. For half a second her expression broke. Then her smile returned. "What's that?" Marcus folded the letter once. "Mail. You don't usually hide mail from me. You don't usually visit the warehouse." Diana placed the folder on the counter. "I was checking the property valuation, using an old family authorization code." Her fingers paused against the leather. "You're a security guard, Marcus. Don't start pretending you understand estate administration. He studied her face. The insult was familiar. The fear beneath it was not. Diana reached for the folded page. Marcus moved it beyond her hand. "What happens in 21 days?" he asked. "Nothing that concerns you. It has my beneficiary number on it." A cabinet door slammed harder than necessary. Diana took a breath and softened her voice. "Your father filled your head with fantasies. Whatever that office once controlled is gone. The kindest thing you can do is stop digging through dead men's paperwork." She picked up her folder and walked toward the bedroom. Marcus remained at the table, the midnight gate badge still clipped to his uniform. From inside Diana's folder, one corner of a county form protruded. He could read only 3 words. "Petition for dissolution." Marcus did not call after her. He opened the cream letter again and focused on the final requirement. Verified access record. At 8:12 that morning, instead of going to bed, Marcus drove back toward the warehouse. For the first time in years, silence no longer felt like peace. It felt like permission. Diana Rowe knew how to enter a room as if she already owned it. At the warehouse, she wore tailored coats and spoke to managers by first name. She never raised her voice. Confidence did the work for her. By Friday, property consultants had toured the loading bays and the unused parcel behind the east fence. Diana called the building underperforming real estate with unnecessary labor exposure. Marcus heard the phrase through the gate radio. Labor exposure. That was how she described nearly 200 people who had kept the warehouse alive through bad years. Marcus logged the visitors and said nothing. His silence helped her. Managers assumed husband and wife were acting together. Consultants treated him like hired security. Even employees who trusted him began to believe he had known about the sale. A forklift operator stopped at the booth after his shift. "You could have warned us. I'm still finding out what's real. Your wife brought appraisers onto the floor. That feels real." He drove away before Marcus could answer. At home, Diana became careful. She cleared documents from the desk, changed the laptop password, and took calls outside. Publicly, she spoke about preserving the Rowe legacy. Privately, fear appeared in smaller ways. She collected the mail before Marcus got home. She asked whether Halcyon had called, and when he placed his father's midnight gate badge on the kitchen counter, her attention stayed on it too long. "You should replace that," she said. "It still works. It makes you look stuck." Marcus clipped it back to his shirt. Some things are worth staying attached to. The next day, he requested the warehouse's archived estate files. The finance manager refused. "Family records are restricted. My name is on the beneficiary notice. You're not an active officer. Diana said requests from you go through her attorney." There it was. No court order. No written policy. Just Diana's instruction treated like law. Marcus returned to Gate 3 and opened the gray estate access log. He photographed Diana's recent entry and the ownership transition notation beneath it. Then he found another line. Family office lockout requested. A lockout could delay Halcyon's control packet until after the filing deadline. By then, Diana's divorce petition and the warehouse default would give her leverage over both Marcus and the property. I photographed the page. A shadow crossed the booth window. Diana stood outside with 2 supervisors close enough to hear. She laid a memo on the counter. "Effective immediately, you're barred from reviewing executive visitor records. You had management issue this. I had them enforce boundaries. The log predates management, and you're a guard, not an heir." One supervisor lowered his eyes. Marcus felt the familiar urge to absorb the insult and spare everyone discomfort. Then he remembered the forklift operator. "You could have warned us." Marcus lifted the memo. "Who signed it?" "The operations director. I want the signed copy and the policy supporting it." Diana's smile thinned. "You don't need either. I do now." The moment changed. Marcus was no longer defending his pride. He was building a record. One supervisor spoke quietly. "I'll get the signed version." Diana left without another word. By nightfall, a rumor spread that Marcus had tried to access confidential accounts. Managers avoided him. Staff received an email ordering them not to discuss the property review. The rule isolated him exactly as Diana intended, but she had misjudged why he stayed. Marcus watched the second shift arrive, the mother from receiving the mechanic with the bad knee, the forklift operator with his son's decorated lunch bag. 187 jobs. 187 reasons the warehouse was more than an asset in a divorce. At 2:09 a.m., the supervisor returned with an internal pouch. Inside was the policy Diana had cited. It did not restrict historical estate logs. Beneath it lay a copy of her visitor authorization form. Her old code had not merely expired. Raymond Rowe had revoked it 3 days before his death. Beside the revocation was one handwritten instruction: no access without Marcus present. The note was powerful but not enough by itself. The signature had faded, and without the control packet, Diana could call it obsolete. Marcus hid the pages beneath his shirt and at sunrise called the number on Halcyon's letter. An automated system requested his beneficiary number, birth date, and the final access log code. After he entered them, a woman answered, "Mr. Rowe, your control documents have cleared secure review. When will they arrive?" "On the final filing day. Personal delivery only." "Can they come sooner?" "No, a competing lockout request triggered mandatory verification." Diana had bought herself time. Marcus checked the calendar. The divorce hearing and warehouse filing deadline fell on the same day. How late can the packet arrive? The county record must still be open when delivery is acknowledged. Before ending the call, the woman lowered her voice. "Mr. Rowe, someone attempted to remove you from the beneficiary chain yesterday." Marcus touched the midnight gate badge on his chest. Diana was no longer preparing merely to leave him. She was preparing to erase him. Marcus did not confront Diana when he returned home. He found her asleep with her phone charging beside the bed and a county records website open on the tablet. A highlighted date matched the final filing day from Halcyon's notice. He stood in the doorway long enough to understand the pattern. The divorce petition was not separate from the warehouse transfer. It was the mechanism. If Diana could establish that Marcus had no active interest before Halcyon's documents entered the county record, she could argue that the warehouse belonged inside a rushed marital settlement. The threatened default would pressure him to sign before anyone examined the ownership chain. Marcus took no photographs. A picture of her screen would start an argument. An argument would warn her that he understood. Instead, he went to the kitchen, opened a notebook, and wrote down the date, time, and exact words visible on the page. Quiet resistance began with details. At the warehouse that evening, his access code failed. The employee entrance flashed red twice before a supervisor opened the door manually. "System update," the supervisor said. "Only my code." The man rubbed the back of his neck. Management said, "Your credentials are under review." Marcus glanced at the midnight gate badge. Its physical clearance still opened Gate 3, but his digital access to the administration wing was gone. Diana had made her first move. By midnight, she made another. A notice appeared beside the time clock announcing that 28 positions could be eliminated if the property restructuring failed. Employees gathered beneath it, reading the same paragraph again and again. At the bottom was Diana's signature as acting family representative. Marcus removed the notice from the board. The operations director intercepted him. "You can't take that down. She isn't the verified family representative. She provided documents." "What documents?" "I'm not authorized to show you." Marcus replaced the notice carefully. "Then you shouldn't be authorized to threaten jobs with them." The director's voice hardened. "You are already on thin ice." Diana had built a perfect trap. If Marcus protested, he appeared desperate to protect his own position. If he stayed quiet, workers believed the layoffs were inevitable. Before dawn, the forklift operator from earlier stopped beside the booth. "My wife says we should start packing." Marcus set down his pen. "Don't make any decisions yet." "That's easy for you to say. Diana told management security is being outsourced too." The words landed more deeply than Marcus expected. Diana was not only taking his marriage and using the warehouse as leverage. She intended to remove the last place his father had trusted him to protect. "Give me until the filing day," Marcus said. The operator studied him. Why? Marcus could not mention Halcyon. A premature claim about inheritance would sound like exactly what Diana had been telling people a dismissed guard inventing status to save himself. "Because the record isn't complete. That's supposed to pay my mortgage." "No." Marcus met his frustration without flinching. "But signing away hope before the record closes won't pay it either." The man left unconvinced. At 6:20 a.m., Marcus drove to the county records office and requested guidance on entering a disputed ownership notice. Clerk Evelyn Shaw listened while he explained that verified documents were pending delivery. "Do you have the documents now?" she asked. "No." "Then I can't record their contents." "I'm not asking you to." Marcus slid his notebook across the counter. I need to know how to formally state that a filing is disputed before the deadline. Evelyn, read the dates. You can submit an objection notice, but it won't prove ownership. It only prevents someone from claiming you consented. That's enough for today. She handed him a one-page form. Marcus completed it in block letters, signed his name, and paid the filing fee from the emergency cash he kept for groceries. The stamped copy became the first official record Diana did not control. When he got home, she was waiting in the kitchen. The county receipt lay on the table. You filed an objection. Marcus set down his keys. Yes. You've embarrassed both of us. I protected my right to answer. You have nothing to answer with. Then why are you afraid of the record staying open? Diana's hand paused over the receipt. She recovered with a quiet laugh. I'm afraid you'll destroy what little value remains because you can't accept that your father left you nothing. Marcus removed the visitor authorization copy from his pocket and placed it between them. Raymond's revocation was visible beneath the faded note. Diana read it once. Then she pushed it back. This is meaningless. You used a revoked code. It was accepted. Because no one checked the old log. And now you think a dead man's scribble makes you the owner. No. Marcus returned the paper to his pocket. I think it means you knew I was supposed to be present. Diana's voice sharpened. You were never present, Marcus. Not in this marriage. Not in that family. You hid in a guard booth while other people made decisions. The accusation found its target. For years, Marcus had mistaken endurance for responsibility. He had let Diana speak for him because opposing her seemed like another kind of abandonment. A part of him still wanted to apologize. Then she opened the leather folder and placed a settlement proposal on the table. You sign this, I preserve your pension, and the warehouse sale proceeds without delay. What happens to the employees? That is not part of our divorce. It's part of why you're rushing it. Diana leaned closer. Those people are not your family. Marcus thought of the mechanic's knee, the mother in receiving, and the forklift operator preparing to leave Columbus. They've behaved more like family than you have this month. Diana's expression went still. She closed the folder. The hearing is Monday. If you arrive without proof, my attorney will ask the court to accept the settlement terms and recognize my authority over the property transfer. The county deadline is noon. I know. Her answer came too quickly. She had scheduled the hearing for the same morning, so Marcus would be trapped in one building while the warehouse filing closed in another. After Diana left the room, Marcus called Halcyon. The same woman answered after verification. I need the courier manifest. It is released only on delivery day. I may be required to prove the shipment is active before it arrives. A keyboard clicked. I can authorize a status confirmation, but the original control packet must remain sealed. Send the confirmation to the county clerk. That requires a named recipient, Evelyn Shaw. Marcus provided the office number and asked that the manifest reference his beneficiary status without revealing the packet's contents. This was not rescue. It was preparation. On Sunday night, Marcus sat alone in the guard booth with the estate access log open across his knees. He copied every relevant entry in order: Raymond's revocation, Diana's unauthorized visit, the lockout request, and the ownership transition review. At 2:36 a.m., an SUV entered the employee lane without stopping. Diana was in the passenger seat. The operations director drove. Marcus lowered the gate. The director leaned out. Open it. Visitor purpose. This is executive business. Marcus held up the logbook. Then sign in. Diana stared through the windshield. You've already been told to stop using that record. I've been told a lot of things without supporting policy. The director pressed the horn. Marcus did not move. After several seconds, Diana got out and approached the booth. You are risking termination over a book no one will believe. Marcus slid the log toward the opening. Sign in. She took the pen. For an instant, her hand hovered above the page containing the earlier unauthorized entry. Then she signed on the next line. Marcus wrote the time beside her name and raised the gate. Diana returned to the SUV, but before the vehicle moved, she lowered the window. Monday morning, you will have to choose between your hearing and this warehouse. Marcus clipped the midnight gate badge more firmly to his shirt. No, he said, you arranged that choice. The SUV disappeared toward the administration wing. Marcus photographed the new entry and sent copies of both pages to Evelyn Shaw with his objection number. Then he placed the original log in a sealed pouch and kept it against his chest for the rest of the shift. Diana believed the deadline would divide him between his marriage and the warehouse. She had not yet understood that Marcus was done letting her define either one. By 9:10, Monday morning, Marcus had already been humiliated twice. First at Gate 3, where Diana announced to the day shift that he would leave the marriage with nothing. Then at the county records office, where she placed the settlement in front of him, as if his signature were the last inconvenience between her and the warehouse. Now the hearing clerk called their names. Diana rose with her attorney. Marcus carried only three things: his county objection receipt, the sealed pouch containing the estate access log, and the Midnight Gate badge clipped to his gray shirt. Diana had come prepared for a performance. Her cream coat was gone. She wore navy, now serious enough for court, and expensive enough to remind everyone which spouse seemed credible. Two warehouse managers sat behind her, along with the operations director. The forklift operator stood near the back wall. Marcus had not asked him to come. Diana had. She wanted witnesses when Marcus surrendered. Her attorney opened with practiced sympathy. Mrs. Rowe has attempted to resolve this privately, but Mr. Rowe appears to be delaying proceedings based on unsupported claims regarding an old family office. He held up Marcus's objection notice. This filing contains no deed, no trust instrument, and no evidence of present control. The hearing officer judge, Elaine Porter, studied Marcus over her glasses. Mr. Rowe, do you dispute the dissolution petition? Yes. Do you dispute the proposed property agreement? Yes. On what basis? Marcus placed the objection receipt on the table. The ownership record is incomplete. Verified documents are scheduled for personal delivery today. Diana released a breath that sounded almost like laughter. Judge Porter glanced at the wall clock. Do you have proof of scheduled delivery? A courier manifest was sent to Clerk Evelyn Shaw. The hearing clerk checked her terminal. Nothing has been attached to this case. Diana's attorney rose. Because there is nothing to attach. I then presented Diana's valuation packet. Marcus recognized photographs of the warehouse projected sale figures and the layoffs described as restructuring savings. The packet treated the building as a marital asset under Diana's control. The managers behind her nodded as if the conclusion had already been decided. Judge Porter read several pages. This valuation assumes authority to approve a sale. Mrs. Rowe has acted as family representative for years, the attorney said. Marcus opened the sealed pouch but did not remove the log. Using an authorization code revoked before Raymond Rowe died. Diana faced the judge. My husband has become fixated on a damaged notebook kept in a security booth. He believes handwritten entries override formal records. Her voice softened. I is grieving his father all over again. I have tried to be patient. The cruelty of the statement was hidden inside concern. Several people in the room accepted it immediately. Marcus had seen that expression before: the slight tilt of the head, the lowered voice. The suggestion that resisting her was evidence he needed help. Judge Porter addressed him carefully. Mr. Rowe, are you represented by counsel? No. Do you understand that refusing a reasonable agreement may expose you to additional costs? Yes. Diana leaned toward him. This is your last chance to leave with dignity. Marcus did not answer her. Her attorney slid the settlement across the table. The terms granted Diana control over any property associated with the Rowe warehouse pending sale. Marcus would keep his retirement account and personal vehicle if he waived all further claims. At the bottom was a deadline, June 8:30 a.m., 30 minutes before the county filing window closed. Marcus read the employment provision twice. The warehouse jobs were not protected, not even temporarily. You told the workers the sale would preserve operations, Marcus said. Diana's eyes narrowed. This is not the place. You brought their managers. Her attorney objected, but Judge Porter lifted a hand. Marcus continued. The valuation counts layoffs as savings, 28 immediately, more after transfer. The forklift operator shifted in the back row. One manager stopped nodding. Diana's tone hardened. Those decisions belong to the next owner. You told people their jobs were safe if I cooperated. I told them the property needed stability. Marcus placed the settlement back on the table. This doesn't stabilize them, it clears them out. Judge Porter asked to see the employment section. Diana's attorney tried to explain that workforce decisions were outside the scope of the dissolution, but the damage was done. Her public image had cracked, only slightly, not enough. At 10:26, the hearing clerk still had no manifest. Marcus requested a brief recess so he could speak directly with Evelyn Shaw at the records counter downstairs. Diana's attorney objected again, eyes attempting to run out the clock. Judge Porter granted 10 minutes. Marcus reached the public filing room at 10:34. Evelyn searched her system by his objection number, beneficiary number, and address. No manifest, she said. Marcus removed the folded tracking receipt. Then you searched the estate seal. She entered the code. Nothing. For the first time that morning, doubt reached him. Maybe Halcyon had been delayed. Maybe Diana's lockout request had worked. Maybe he had spent 3 weeks protecting a record that would arrive 1 minute too late. Evelyn lowered her voice. Your objection is still active, but without supporting documents, it only proves you disagreed. How long before someone can file against the property? If the hearing produces a signed agreement immediately. Marcus checked the time. Jinyorni. When he returned upstairs, Diana was standing near the windows with the forklift operator. She spoke loudly enough for Marcus to hear. I'm sorry he gave you false hope. Some men need people to depend on them even when they have nothing to offer. The operator did not respond. Diana faced Marcus as the hearing resumed. No courier. Marcus sat down. Her attorney requested immediate approval of the settlement. Judge Porter asked Marcus one final time whether he would sign. Diana pushed the pen toward him. Take the pension, she whispered. Keep your little badge. Stop dragging everyone down with you. That was the deepest cut. Not the house. Not the money. She was telling him the people he had protected would suffer because he refused to disappear quietly. Marcus held the pen. Behind him a chair creaked. The forklift operator spoke from the gallery. She told us he already agreed to the layoffs. Diana spun toward him. Judge Porter's voice sharpened. Sir, you will remain silent unless called. The man lowered his head, but his words remained in the room. Marcus set the pen down. I will not sign. Diana's composure finally broke. You are a gate guard with a dead man's badge and a notebook. You have no family office, no authority, and no one coming through that door. Marcus unclipped the badge. He placed it beside the unsigned settlement. My father gave me this before he died, he said. Not as proof of ownership, as proof that keeping the gate meant protecting whoever depended on what passed through it. Diana laughed once, but no one joined her. Marcus lifted the sealed pouch. This log shows who entered, what authority they used, and when that authority was revoked. I am asking for a formal review before any settlement transfers control. Judge Porter studied him. That request may not stop today's filing without the documents you referenced. I understand. Then what are you asking me to rely on? Marcus stood. Not my story, the record. At 11:06, the hearing room door opened. Evelyn Shaw entered, breathing hard, a printed sheet in her hand. Judge Porter, the courier manifest just posted. Diana's attorney rose. Evelyn continued before he could speak. It confirms a secure delivery under the Rowe estate seal. 3 vehicles entered downtown 6 minutes ago. Outside, the window's brakes hissed against the curb. A black SUV stopped in front of the county building. Then a second. Then the long sedan with the silver crest. The digital clock changed to 11:08. Diana stared at the convoy below. For the first time that day, the pen was no longer in her control. The first man through the hearing room door carried no briefcase. He carried identification. Daniel Price, Halcyon Family Office, he said, handing his credentials to the hearing clerk. I am here to verify delivery to Marcus Rowe. Behind him, a courier entered with the locked leather case secured to his wrist. A third representative remained in the hall beside 2 county security officers. Diana recovered before anyone else. This is theater, she said. A private office cannot interrupt a dissolution hearing. Daniel faced Judge Porter. We are not asking to interrupt it. We are fulfilling a beneficiary delivery tied to an active county filing. Diana's attorney approached the clerk's table. Whatever is in that case has not been authenticated. It, as Evelyn Shaw said. She placed the printed manifest beside Marcus's objection receipt. The seal number matches the secure transmission. The delivery was logged before the noon cutoff. Diana dismissed the paper with a wave. A manifest proves that someone mailed something. It does not prove Marcus controls anything. Daniel gave no reaction. He asked Marcus for his beneficiary number, government identification, and one item linked to the original access protocol. Marcus removed the midnight gate badge from the table. Diana laughed again, more sharply this time. You cannot be serious. Daniel examined the black enamel plate and read the serial number along its worn edge. Then he compared it with a page on his tablet. Protocol item verified. The courier unlocked the chain around his wrist. One clasp opened, then the second. He set the leather case in front of Marcus but kept his hand on the lid. Mr. Rowe Halcyon requires verbal confirmation. Are you accepting personal delivery voluntarily and without assigning your authority to another party? Marcus glanced at the unsigned settlement. Yes. Do you authorize the contents to be reviewed in this hearing and entered into the county record? Diana's attorney spoke quickly. Marcus, do not answer that until you understand the consequences. Marcus met his eyes. I understand why she needed me to sign first. He faced the courier. I authorize review. The lid opened. Inside rested one sealed document packet bound in dark blue, its cover embossed with the same silver crest visible on the sedan below. No pile of mysterious papers, no dramatic stack of hidden accounts. One control packet. Daniel removed it and read the delivery statement into the record. The Rowe family office had never dissolved. Following Raymond Rowe's death, its controlling interest in the warehouse property had been placed under restricted administration until Marcus reached the designated review conditions. Those conditions were not based on age or wealth. They were based on continuity. Marcus had to remain connected to the property, preserve the estate access record, and avoid transferring his beneficiary rights under pressure or misrepresentation. Diana's attorney interrupted. This does not establish current ownership. Daniel opened the packet to the first certified page. It establishes that Marcus Rowe is the controlling beneficiary authorized to approve or reject any sale, restructuring, or transfer involving the warehouse. No one spoke for several seconds. The operations director leaned forward. One of the managers behind Diana whispered, "She told us she had the vote." Daniel continued. The family office holds the controlling property interest. Mrs. Rowe has no independent authority to sell it. Diana rose. That is impossible. Raymond had no confidence in Marcus. He left him at a security gate. Marcus's hand rested beside the badge. Daniel read the next provision. Raymond Rowe designated continued gate service as evidence of stewardship. Diana stared at him. What does that even mean? It means Daniel said that Mr. Rowe's work was not disqualifying. It was one of the conditions confirming his role. The understanding reached the room unevenly. The forklift operator understood first, then the managers, then Judge Porter. Marcus had not spent 11 years guarding property he failed to inherit. He had spent 11 years fulfilling the responsibility attached to it. Diana remained standing. This packet could have been changed. Marcus had access to old family materials. Daniel's voice stayed level. The packet was maintained under external administration. Mr. Rowe had no access before today. Her attorney whispered for her to sit. She ignored him. Then why was I allowed to act as representative? Because no transfer requiring beneficiary approval was completed. I signed valuations, I met buyers. You presented an expired authorization. It was accepted. Acceptance does not restore revoked authority. Marcus opened the sealed pouch. He removed the estate access log and carried it to the hearing clerk himself. This is the original record, he said. I request that the relevant entries be reviewed beside the control packet. That movement belonged to him, not the convoy, not Halcyon, not the judge. Marcus brought the proof to the person controlling the record and forced the issue into the open. Evelyn placed the gray log beside the blue packet. Daniel read Raymond's revocation entry, then checked its date against the control protocol. 3 days before Raymond died, Diana's access had been terminated. The handwritten instruction beneath it was also confirmed. No access without Marcus present. Daniel moved to the newer entries. Diana had used the revoked code to enter the warehouse, requested an ownership transition review, and initiated a family office lockout without Marcus's authorization. The final line showed her entering again the night before the hearing after Marcus required her to sign in. Judge Porter addressed Diana's attorney. Did your client disclose that her authority had been revoked? He did not answer immediately. I was provided with documents representing that she remained an authorized family representative. By whom? Diana sat down at last. Her voice dropped. This has nothing to do with whether the marriage is over, Marcus answered calmly. The marriage can end. The lie cannot become the record. Judge Porter reviewed the settlement again. Its property terms depended on Diana possessing authority she did not have. Its deadline was designed to close before the control packet arrived. Its workforce provisions contradicted what she had told employees and managers. The judge pushed the agreement away. I will not approve this settlement. Diana's attorney requested time to amend it. Judge Porter denied immediate consideration. The property provisions are frozen pending verification and a full disclosure review. Outside counsel will need to examine whether material facts were misrepresented in this filing. Diana gripped the edge of the table. You cannot freeze the sale. The warehouse is near default. Daniel closed the packet halfway. The default notice was triggered by the unauthorized transition request. Delivery of the control packet restores the family office's active administration. One manager stood. What happens to the layoffs? Marcus answered before Daniel could. They stop. Diana snapped toward him. You cannot promise that. Marcus opened the section authorizing emergency beneficiary action. He read it once, then placed his finger beside the relevant line. I am directing Halcyon to suspend the sale process and preserve current staffing while the warehouse finances are reviewed. Daniel nodded. That direction is within your authority. The operations director's face tightened. You're going to keep every position without seeing the numbers. No, Marcus said. I'm going to see the numbers before deciding whose life gets called unnecessary. The forklift operator lowered his head, pressing his lips together. Diana tried one final time. Marcus, listen to yourself. These people will drain everything your father left. Marcus clipped the midnight gate badge back onto his shirt. My father did not leave me a warehouse so I could empty it. Judge Porter ordered the disputed filings referred for review. Diana's claimed authority was removed from the active county record. The proposed property transfer was blocked, and the dissolution case would continue without treating the warehouse as hers to bargain away. No one placed Diana in handcuffs. No one declared her guilty on the spot. The consequence was quieter and more real. She lost control of the filing. She lost control of the sale. And she lost the room. The managers moved away from the row behind her. Her attorney gathered the settlement without meeting her eyes. At 11:39, Marcus signed the delivery acknowledgement. At 11:43, Evelyn stamped the control packet into the county record. At 11:46, Halcyon sent an emergency hold to the warehouse, freezing layoffs and outside transfer activity pending review. Diana sat alone at the table where she had expected Marcus to surrender. Marcus did not celebrate. He returned the estate access log to its sealed pouch and thanked Evelyn for recording his objection when he had possessed nothing but a deadline and his word. Then he faced Diana. You were right about one thing, he said. She waited. Our marriage cannot survive this. Her eyes hardened. Marcus continued. But I will not destroy the family my father trusted me to protect just to punish you. He walked toward the door with the control packet beneath one arm. Behind him, Judge Porter called the next procedural date. Ahead of him, the forklift operator held the door open. Outside, the convoy remained at the curb, but Marcus did not enter the sit-in. He asked Daniel to take him back to Gate 3. Marcus returned to Gate 3 before the afternoon shift ended. The convoy stopped outside the employee entrance, but he asked Daniel Price to wait in the sedan. He wanted to speak to the workers without a family office representative standing behind him. Rumors had already outrun the vehicles. Employees gathered near the time clock. Uncertain whether the black cars meant rescue foreclosure or another ownership change they had not been told about. Marcus entered wearing the same gray security shirt. The control packet rested beneath his arm. The midnight gate badge remained clipped to his chest. The operations director began to address the crowd, but Marcus lifted one hand. I'll explain. The director fell silent. Marcus did not tell them he had won. The word felt wrong when his marriage had ended and 200 families had spent weeks wondering whether their paychecks would disappear. I told them the sale had been frozen. He told them the layoff notices were suspended. He told them every position would remain active, while Halcyon reviewed the warehouse finances vendor contracts and staffing plan. A woman from receiving raised her hand. For how long? Until we know the truth about the numbers. And after that, Marcus considered the question. I won't promise there will never be hard decisions. I will promise no one will be called unnecessary because removing them makes a sale easier. The forklift operator stood near the back, still wearing his work gloves. My wife packed half the kitchen. A few people laughed, though the sound carried relief more than humor. Marcus nodded. Tell her not to unpack everything because of one speech. Tell her to wait for the written notice. Daniel entered then and handed the operations director Halcyon's emergency order. The document confirmed what Marcus had said. Current staffing was preserved. The outside transfer was suspended. Any management action connected to Diana's unauthorized restructuring required review. Only then did the tension begin to leave the room. No one applauded at first. The mechanic with the bad knee walked forward and offered Marcus his hand. Others followed. Marcus accepted each one without pretending he had done it alone. The employees had kept the building alive. Evelyn had protected the county record. The estate access log had survived because generations of guards and clerks had treated ordinary details as worth preserving. But when Diana had tried to force the decision, Marcus had made the one choice no document could make for him. He had refused to sign. That evening he completed his shift. Daniel offered to arrange an office upstairs and a temporary executive title. Marcus declined both. "Not yet," he said. "You are the controlling beneficiary." "I know." Daniel glanced at the guard booth. "You do not have to remain here." Marcus touched the edge of the badge. "I need to understand this building from more than one side before I change anything." Over the next 6 weeks, the review uncovered inflated sale assumptions, avoidable consulting fees, and maintenance delays that had made the warehouse appear closer to default than it was. The property had problems. It was not dying. Halcyon brought in outside counsel and an independent financial team. The operations director was placed on leave pending review of his role in Diana's unauthorized access. The property consultant's contract was frozen before the week ended. Diana's divorce petition continued. Without the false claim of warehouse authority, the case became what it should have been from the beginning. The end of a marriage, not a shortcut to controlling an estate. Her attorney withdrew the rushed settlement. A new filing acknowledged that the warehouse interest was governed by the family office and could not be transferred through the divorce. Diana faced a separate review concerning the expired authorization and statements she had made to management. The consequences did not arrive as a dramatic sentence from one judge. They arrived as lost credibility legal fees and closed doors. People who had accepted her confidence as proof now asked for records. Marcus did not interfere with the process. He also did not rescue her from it. When Diana returned to the bungalow to collect the last of her belongings, she found Marcus packing Raymond's boxes into his truck. She stood beside the kitchen counter where she had once pushed the settlement toward him. "Are you moving into the family house?" she asked. "There is no family house. You could buy one now. That isn't what the packet gave me." Diana folded her arms. "It gave you control. It gave me responsibility." She studied his uniform. "You're really going back to that gate. For now." Her voice carried less cruelty than exhaustion. "I thought you stayed there because you were afraid to become more." Marcus lifted the final box. "Sometimes I was." Diana waited for him to accuse her. He did not. He carried the box outside and left her with the silence she had once used against him. 3 months later, the warehouse remained open. The review preserved all 28 threatened positions. A new maintenance plan reduced operating costs without cutting staff, and employees received written protections requiring advance review before future restructuring. Marcus accepted a seat on the family office oversight committee. He still worked 2 gate shifts each week. Some executives thought it was symbolic. It was not. At midnight, decisions looked different from inside the booth. You could see the mother from receiving arrive, tired but on time. You could watch the mechanic stretch his knee before crossing the lot. You could count the trailers carrying the goods that kept the payroll moving. Spreadsheets measured labor. The gate revealed people. One cold morning, Daniel found Marcus replacing the cracked plastic casing around the old badge. "You could have a new one issued," he said. Marcus fitted the black enamel plate into the fresh casing. "The plate stays." He clipped it to his coat and raised the gate for the first truck of the day. Sunlight spread across the warehouse wall, touching the faded outline where the Rowe family name had once been painted. Marcus had not kept the family intact by preserving his marriage. He had kept it intact by understanding that family could also mean the people whose lives were tied to your choices, and refusing to treat them as numbers when cruelty would have been easier. Diana had believed dignity was something she could leave him without. She was wrong. Dignity was the one thing Marcus had never allowed her to own. If you were in Marcus's position, would you have signed the settlement to protect yourself or risked everything to keep the record open? Share your answer in the comments and subscribe for more stories about quiet people who finally choose to stand their ground.